No.
Alright, so before we start, I actually do want to ask one more thing. How much experience do you have fighting Olimar? Because if you don't have a lot, I don't recommend me starting as Olimar. Just because it's a lot of information, and sometimes easing you into it with other characters to warm up, or at least something like that, might be more beneficial if you're not familiar with them.
Right. I fought the odd Olimar here and there on quick play, but not a whole lot of
No
Olimar.
worries, no worries. I can go some more traditional characters, and we can start from there. And then I definitely don't mind going Olimar towards the end if you'd like to fight him and things like that. It's just for kind of like a general analytical point for me. It's a lot easier. I can tell how you're playing the game against a traditional character as opposed to just Olimar, and then you don't know what the hell's happening.
Right.
So is Ridley your main?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. So we'll play a couple games, then things I notice and stuff, we can kind of go from there and start some discussion.
Okay. Oh,
So right off the bat, something I'm noticing is I feel like one, there are times where when you try to hit your kill moves, right, you might go for these really committal smash attacks like you did with the forward smash and stuff like that. I think the
mm,
up smash attempt wasn't terrible. It was just unfortunately misspaced. Um, that is something where if you're struggling to get those kills, you can kind of just use your other moves to do it. So you hit me like quite a few down tilts relative to the other attacks, but
mm,
there's times where maybe F tilt would have done it, and that sweet spot F tilt's a great kill move, with the
right.
tipper of that, and those have relatively similar range. I don't know if they're exactly similar, but that could have been a way to catch me instead of down tilting. You could have also grabbed me, thrown me forward back air off stage, and then tried to ledge guard me maybe with a down tilt on my own
Mm,
ledge snap, or maybe run out there and neutral air forward air me. You've got a pretty generous recovery, so you can go out there and kind of put me in that disadvantage, especially as a character like Wolf. So going into these games, this next game, maybe try and be a little bit more aware of, like, you don't always have to get a big hit to get a kill. Sometimes you can rinse and repeat, use those aerials, and if you do find something like a back air or a smash attack or your side B or something like that, go for it. But just try and feel me out instead of just committing and hoping I'm going to be there. Because with
okay.
those smash attacks, it was kind of just like, hey, I hope you roll into this. Hey, I hope you're here. When I try and forward smash, and if it doesn't work, you end up getting punished a lot more than you should.
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
surprising how that did that. Wow, I'm a little surprised I killed you.
Yeah.
But it's also wolf down, so not totally. But I felt like that game you were doing a little bit better. Just kind of being a little bit more smart about your smash attacks, kind of rinse and repeating, and that was good. Um, something that, oh, one sec. Something that I think would be worth bringing up now, just to kind of get you started on it if you're not already doing it. So like when we're in those interactions, and maybe you choose a wrong option or something like that. So there was an instance where I like ran up at the ledge and you were on it, and I kind of hung around it, and my intention was to bait out a get up attack so I could shield it and then punish you. And that's exactly what happened, right? Like I occupied the ledge in a way where I wasn't shielding immediately, but I was like, hey, I'm near the ledge, so your thought is, oh, maybe I should get up attack, and then I bait it out and then I punish, right? So in those types of instances, do you feel like you were able to recognize exactly why you were getting punished, or do you think you just tend to get hit and go, oh man, I get hit, I gotta try something different, or maybe like every now and then you'll have an idea, but not consistently be able to really like break down why that interaction didn't go favorably for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because one of the ways that I like to teach my students to think, and is how I view the game personally, is when you're in those interactions and something goes wrong, you want to try and take a moment, if you can, right after it happens, to evaluate what actually did just happen. So in the
Right.
example of that ledge, you'd be like, oh, Myron ran at me and then he baited out my get up attack, so next time I have to be more aware of his positioning. Just because he's near the ledge doesn't mean he's vulnerable, right? Maybe if he's charging an attack, I could get him, but normally I couldn't. He could potentially shield. So then you can take note of that, and then you can try a different strategy next time. And the goal of that is to get you thinking about just generally these interactions and why things are going the way they are, because you're not going into this gameplay and going like, I'm going to lose. So if you're losing and you don't expect it, then you have to kind of try and figure out where it's going wrong.
Mm.
So I think if you, in the next few games, really try and think about these interactions and why certain things are going a little poorly if you're losing them, and try to identify it. And it's okay if you can't get it. I just want to get you thinking kind of in that additional awareness state, so that you're a bit better about it. It's like right there, you attacked and then you landed, I forward smashed you. So that's something where you can make a good note of that. Be like, okay, I shouldn't have attacked there. I didn't have a really good opening.
Yeah.
Oh. So, right off the bat that game, I want to hear what you felt like went wrong, and then I'm going to tell you the really big thing that I noticed that I felt like kind of just really made it difficult for you to get a footing in that game. So let me hear your thoughts first, if you have any. It's okay if you don't have like a super robust explanation or anything.
Right, yeah. I feel like I didn't adapt at all. Like I just wanted to just run at you and make sure you weren't able to do anything. And I guess you baited that out and just acted accordingly.
Yeah, so kind of expanding on that, you were attacking at a disadvantage specifically a lot. I'd hit you, you'd neutral air. You'd be falling, you try and land. You'd get on the ground and you'd immediately try and attack again or something like that. So there was times where I would just, like you said, bait it out and then punish you, which is a really good observation on your part. So a way you could approach that is, okay, I'm attacking at a disadvantage, I'm getting hit, I need to stop attacking at a disadvantage. Just because I'm able to input on my character, I'm out of hits that I'm able to control, doesn't mean I have to attack. Right? You're not playing Luigi. Your character does not mash the A button out of disadvantage.
Mhm.
So, you know, what you could do instead is be like, all right, I'm getting hit. Maybe let's make sure my DI is on point to try and minimize the amount of these combos. Then when I do get out, you have multiple jumps. Maybe you could fake me out, with your multiple jumps, land, and be like, oh, gotcha, add in another jump, back air, neutral air, something like that, if I try and whiff punish you. Or maybe you could air dodge and get back on the ground, run away, reset to neutral, and try again, without just always attacking. So in this next game, let's try and kind of watch yourself what you're doing in disadvantage, and it's okay if you're attacking and it's getting punished. Just make that note of it, be able to recognize it, and then we can try some different strategies.
Okay.
And the nice thing about like this way of like thinking about the game and stuff like that is you can apply it to everything, because it revolves around the interactions and whether they go right or wrong, and you always understand why they do or don't, and then you can fill in the blanks to make it as accurate as possible for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like right there how I use my double jump, same way with you, but you get additional jumps.
Mhm.
That was so good. Oh, nice. That was a big back.
I always mean to fair when I do that, but I'm sorry, not fair. Fair when I do that, but I fair instead.
Gotcha. Well, you got it, and that's what's important. Nice thing is, like, when you have, like, an executional thing like that, that's something you can just really kind of grind out the muscle memory and get it down in no time.
Yeah.
So that game, I felt like you were doing a lot better.
Mm.
Really just not attacking the moment you're getting hit, kind of waiting a little bit. Sure, your options that you chose weren't always correct, or you might evaluate them properly, but that's good. That's better than nothing, right? Because that means you're attempting to do it and you're just doing it wrong, and then you can go, all right, well, next time I can try it better, or in the long run you can. Do you feel like that game you were actively thinking about that stuff more, or?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's good, and it's a little jarring at first because you have to kind of like split your attention to play the game in that way. Because you're like, okay, I have to really pay attention to these interactions. Because if I just brush them off and don't acknowledge what's happening, then it's a lot harder to adapt, right?
Mm.
Because you will do it subconsciously, but when you can kind of consciously acknowledge it and be like, oh, this went this way because I messed up or I miscalculated, it's so much easier. And I think you definitely did show some improvement there. And going into like how you're controlling stage and stuff like that, there are times where you might be attacking where I am instead of where I will be. And on Wi-Fi, you don't really have the luxury of reactions all the time. So
Mm.
sometimes be a little bit more aware and be like, oh, he's going this way. Maybe I should attack here instead of directly where I am. Will help you land some more of those hits. Oh, so reach. Nice shot.
I'm not dying.
Ridley's a big boy.
Yeah, but he's the same way as Ike, though.
Yeah, but the thing, I mean, one, we're on Callus, so you have a lot of room to work with off stage. But
Right.
also, forward air is not the strongest skill move, and it mainly sends vertically. So you're going to get a lot more leeway here than you would on something maybe like Battlefield or small Battlefield or something like that, comparatively.
I'm,
Um, and that was still pretty good, right? Like, I'm obviously making adaptations of my own, and I felt like you kept it pretty close to the last game.
mm.
So, not bad on your part. There are some habits that you tend to go for, like maybe there's certain spacings I'm recognizing where you like to side B and things like that, and you're still not super aggressive when you knock me off stage or even at the ledge. And I think learning to push that advantage is really important, but it's not something you should just like force yourself to do if you're not comfortable. Maybe ease yourself into over time. Like if you're knocking me off stage and you're letting me get back because maybe you're trying to do something on stage or ledge trap me and it messes up, it's that same principle. Like identify like why is your option not as effective as you initially anticipated or something like that, and that's going to help you kind of figure it out. Because with Ridley, you're not the most well-rounded character in a sense. So you have these very polarizing aspects. Like yes, you're combo food. Yes, you can get blown up off certain hits, but also when you hit someone, it can be very destructive. And sure, you're not the most traditional type of combo character, but you've got those down throw, mix-ups, down throw forward air and stuff like that. You've got your nair, like almost like tech chases in a sense. That dash attack's great at covering distance and hits very hard. So if you can learn to incorporate those and just try and crack open that type of stuff, or even maybe get a good read if someone goes in a way you're not expecting, try and catch a jump with an aerial or something like that. That could be really important.
Right.
That was super good. I like the dash back, bait on me, get up attack. No, I'm dead.
Oh, okay.
I like that attempt better. That was so much better.
And I made it.
Really utilizing your character's strengths right there, especially compared to hit the wrong button. Compared to mine, which is what you want, and I think you did that very well. And on a stage like Kalos, it's really unique because it has that wall, so you can really go out there and position well and make sure I have to ride the the stage in a certain way if I go down there, so that it just works well in your advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about walls like that. Like what you just said, walls like you have to just go straight.
They force the recovery to be a certain way. Like sure they can go out and try and go that way, but the fact that if they want to go in, it is right there. You can drop down and do like a rising nair, drop down and do a rising fair, something like that. And be like, hey, I'm going to literally occupy the space you have to recover. And a lot of characters don't have that. Like Wolf doesn't have the luxury of just hanging out there. Like if I play like Olimar, sure, I have a little bit more freedom, but like a character like that is relatively limited, so you can really exploit that. It happens to the best of us.
I think I meant to like input like down tilt or something. But
Yeah, the laser buffered it.
Yeah.
Yep. I know that one all too well. I like to mess around with the Greninja, so I have my fair share of down airs off stage. I think the up smash was a little optimistic, but it's fine. You just be like, okay, next time, you can be like, he's prepared for it, so I don't go for it.
Yeah.
There we go. Recognizing where I was, a lot better. Honestly, the fact that you were working with essentially 2 stocks, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
You know, you got me down to my last stock, so you were doing very good going blow for blow. And I think, you know, it's okay if I've got to call stuff out in the beginning, especially be like, hey, you know, watch out on that. It's okay. You recognize why you know it didn't work out, and then you made some good adjustments, and you managed to land them. And it's like you don't want to get too greedy with those things, but playing it, playing a character like Ridley tends to kind of have its own fear factor associated with it. So if you're able to kind of fight it or feed into that and be like, hey, I know you don't want to get hit by this up smash, this forward smash, and then you land them, that stuff's really good. So I'm going to swap characters for a little bit to try another nice generic top tier. Keep you on your toes.
Oh yeah, you picked the most generic top tier.
Yes. I want total normalcy. There's no nonsense about it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
All good, it happens sometimes. I don't know what's happening. Connections are kind of rough. We can, if it's still bad after this game, we can figure it out though. Good attempt with the fireballs, but he didn't have 3%. Dash attack, unfortunately didn't work, so he ended up getting punished, but that's how it is sometimes, it doesn't always connect. There we go. Nice big hitbox. And that is unfortunately how it is with Ridley, where you get off stage and if they have a good large hitbox, kind of get swung on. But I feel like you did do some really solid stuff there, kind of sitting back, holding that stage control, using those fireballs on a character that doesn't have a reflector, doesn't have a projectile, kind of playing your strength there. You did hit me with a really good down tilt on my up B, catching my 2-frame.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. I don't know if maybe you're just the type of player who's a bit more hesitant to do it, but I feel like you're not super aggressive with your aerials. And I know, like, first off, Ridley neutral air is fantastic for catching people when they're near you. But just like going out there for like bears, finding those hits, it seems like you're very passive and just comfortable with maybe just trying to get me like with a dash attack or a tilt or something and pop me up, as opposed to doing anything else or going for reads.
Yeah.
So trying to get out of the comfort zone, because then that kind of gives you a good idea of like how effective you are at reading those things and intercepting people and being like, all right, well, am I reading them properly? If not, let's hit. I'm sorry. Let's see if we can, you know, kind of focus up and figure out a little bit more of their patterns and their habits. And that kind of all feeds back into that awareness thing I was talking about in the beginning. You're really just actually thinking about all of these interactions and everything you're doing more than you would if you were just like kind of autopiloting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel about that.
I'm dead. Oh, I thought I pineapple.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, town, Smashville.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Like there, that was a great example of that down air. Super wide hitbox on the middle kind of space away. You try and hit me with like an aerial out of shield, just double. Like, so, going back to that kind of initial point I was talking about, you had a pretty solid idea to attack out of shield based on just the way the game goes, your character, but you weren't recognizing the spacing. So next time you have to be more aware of that and be like, okay, he's attacking me here. I cannot narrative shield that. It's not going to reach. So what can you do? Maybe you can drop shield and run away. Maybe you can jump away, but you're not going to get a direct punish unless maybe you like parry or something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Gotta try to be more mindful when you're coming out and stuff like that if I can come hit you.
Yeah.
No, I waited too long. Wow, give me a C stick there. So, lag aside, do you think, and this might be why maybe you're getting hit off stage a bit more, like if you're riding from the ledge, you're trying to act around there, do you think you're maybe not focusing on me or your opponent, and you're more like, oh no, I'm off stage, I have to really like dial in on myself? Because I know your moves have startup, up, B, happy, and stuff like that, but when you're rising with those hits, I don't know if you're just assuming they're gonna hit me, and that's maybe you just kind of miscalculating, or if you're just not recognizing that I'm right there with a sword swinging at you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do need to give your opponent your attention, even when you're off stage or something like that. Like, sure, you can recognize, hey, I got off stage, but you kind of learning to split your attention and not just stop focusing on your opponent is really important, because if not, they can catch you when you're not expecting it.
Sorry, ask that again.
I was saying, like, are you focusing on just yourself when you get knocked away and off stage, or are you giving your opponent? Are you looking at them and recognizing what they're doing? Because that might be why you're getting hit off stage more, like with those forward airs and stuff.
Yeah, like a little bit of both, but I'd say mostly myself.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get back on stage.
And that's normal, and that's something, every player does, but it can benefit yourself if you're getting punished a lot, especially to be like, okay, I gotta still pay attention to what my opponent's doing, or else he's gonna come hit me for free.
Oh. Okay. Ooh.
How are you feeling right now? Because you definitely, on my end, I feel like you're definitely trying to do certain things better, or you are doing them better just outright. Even so, there is some improvement from the first game. It feels like you're slowing things down a bit. You're not always mashing at a disadvantage. you're trying to be a bit more aware of stuff, and sometimes you are gonna struggle with kind of doing all those things at first while you get more acclimated to it. But it's kind of like you have to slow it down before you can speed it back up because you're ideally retraining yourself to evaluate the game in real time.
Right.
Um, but do you feel good though? Like, how are you feeling? Do you feel like there's still things that aren't just clicking as well as you'd like? I like to get an open dialect going in that, so I'm not just assuming something about you.
Yeah, like I understand a lot of what I need to do. It's just that a lot a lot of times it takes a minute for like what's in my head to translate to my hands.
For sure, for sure. And that's understandable. Do you think that's just like right now, or maybe that's like a normal problem you have?
Um, I think it's just right now.
Okay, and that's why I asked, because that would make sense. You're kind of getting a lot of information, a lot of ways to view the game, or a lot of advice. You're also fighting someone who's pretty good, so you've got to deal with fighting them in the match too while you're trying to evaluate. So that's understandable. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself if you're not performing, because with these coaching lessons, I like to try and open up the floodgates, so to speak, for my students and teach them like, hey, when you leave here, try and think about the game in this way and do this with yourself and hold yourself accountable, and not just, oh, hey, here's this one trick that's going to make you beat everyone, because frankly those don't exist.
Yeah. Right.
What does it do back here?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, there's yeah.
Nice.
It went the wrong way, but hey.
You got it. It's a hit. Like, see how I use that wall there? It gives me the automatic positioning for me so I can drift back and get my punish. Oh, I did. I think I did. So I'm gonna go back to War, give a little bit of time to simmer, and we can wrap up the session with him. And I just, think about some of the stuff we were talking about. Really try and pay attention to how we're interacting and where you want to get your hits. So you're not just like throwing out attacks and hoping they're hit, but you're more like, all right, I think it's gonna hit here. I'll try and do this. It's not to say that you have to play like slow. It's just try and put a lot of thought into each of those attacks you're throwing out and those interactions we're having, so you can try to clearly identify why it's working or why it's not.
Right.
And you have to give yourself a certain level of like give, because it is Wi-Fi. Sometimes you just react a little too late. That's just the nature of the beast, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You would have had that if
One.
you would have just recovered. I like the thought of it. It just did not play out ideally. You know?
Yeah. Right.
If anything, you probably could have just done like a falling nair or something like that and just clipped me, because my recovery's so like restricted that you didn't need to do anything crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't want you to get back on stage.
Okay, I mean, you take some risks sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. You just gotta be like, all right, that one didn't work. You gotta be careful next time.
Yeah. Or just have an extra stop.
That too.
Oh, didn't know that trip.
Yeah. B just not come out.
Yeah, I amped it up, but it just didn't come out for some reason.
Gotcha. Nice. Oh, you went at a weird angle. Oh, you were probably reversed.
Yeah. It just rolled away.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm just like charging like that, if you're able to react to it, you know, that could have been one of those rolls where you just tried to get out of there immediately. I'm not gonna kill you with a throw, you know, so you can just shield. Um, but yeah, you're still doing. I think you're struggling to keep up. I think that might be just the way I'm like trying to stay on top of you and pressure you. So it's a little jarring to maybe just take your time and evaluate it. But you get glimpses of it, which I think are really, really good for you, where you'll be like in a really great scenario and you'll hold your advantage super well, like staying back, using fireballs, using the tilts, and kind of rinse and repeat until you kill me like you did with the down smash that first stock. And then other times you get hit and you almost go panic mode, and trying to kind of calm those nerves and recognize like, okay, I'm getting comboed. I can't panic. I have to evaluate what's happening and be like, all right, should I roll? Should I dodge? You know, should I shield or whatever it is? Because when you're panicking, that makes it a lot easier for someone like me to just be like, okay, he's going to roll here, free punish, or he's going to do this, free punish.
was 0 death, I think.
Yeah, it was a really good stock on your part. Oh no, my upgrade. No!
No, you're right.
No!
No.
Nice job, dude. Nice job. Good composure. You know, you got a little scared there, which is going to happen. You're at 180. Throw out some rolls, but they ended up not getting punished. Really solid composure that game. Fantastic second stock. I felt like that game was kind of like a really good kind of culmination of a lot of things we've been working on. So I'm very pleased to see you do that. One sec. Just telling me I know my next lesson. I'm finishing up this one, so I might be a minute or two late.
Okay.
But no, I thought that was a great kind of final game to end it on, and we can kind of talk about that. Do you feel like that game specifically, especially as it was going on, how were you feeling with that one? Do you think you had to try a lot to like really keep your composure, not panic, go for certain reads, not get too antsy?
Yeah, I think that second stock, that 0 death, I recognized I was at a stock deficit, so I had to, you know,
Yeah.
play more
And
carefully and just
there's a lot of like information you can pull from the game when you're in those moments. Like maybe your opponent gets a little cocky because they're up a stock, or maybe they're not expecting you to go as hard because you're down or whatever it is, or maybe they are expecting that. So like changing up those strategies and being able to understand how the game changes based on the information present is really important. And if like you said, you kind of recognize you're at a stock deficit, so you're like, all right, I got to pick it up. I got to try and really get in there and press my lead and do what I can with my character. And you did that very well. And then even then, I made plenty of mistakes on my end, just like you were making, but you just happened to do them better, right? Like you were just the better man at the end of that set, or at the end of that game. So I think that was a really good kind of final game for you there. And when you're going off and practicing or playing in tournament moving forward, just keep doing what we were talking about today, where it's like really paying attention when those interactions don't work. Try and have that extra awareness. Talk yourself through it, so that you're able to recognize these things, and it gets better. And if you have to do it after the stock or after the game or whatever, that's fine. But the goal is to be able to do it after every individual interaction.
yeah.
And then you can kind of push yourself that way, and you get better and better and better at it, and it gets faster. And then eventually you're able to recognize, pretty much whenever you mess up, you'll be like, okay, this scenario didn't go well because I was, I anticipated this, or I messed up here. And you don't always have an answer, but you will always know why that exact thing did not work. And that's the most important thing, because then you can at least try other things, so you're not replicating the same problem. But I think that's the big thing for you, is making sure that you're kind of just breaking that autopilot, not mashing out at disadvantage, being mindful of the game, playing to Ridley's strength, saying, hey, I have this range, I have these projectiles, and I'm in an advantageous position. Let me play with them more. Hey, maybe I can try and textures this way. And I think, the better you get and the more you keep practicing, you're definitely going to get a bit of a better feel for, like, controlling Ridley, hitting those back airs whenever you want them, not doing the tech airs as much and stuff like that. Just be really deliberate with your practice, and it's going to make the improvement go a lot faster. Even if you don't notice it, you will, as long as you're actively trying to do these things.
For sure.
Do you have any thoughts or questions of your own?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, if you're good for now and stuff, then I will let you go. I'll send you the YouTube link to this video whenever it's uploaded if you want to go back and watch it and stuff like
Okay.
that. And yeah, have a good day, man.
All right, you too, sir.
All right, bye.
Bye.